Let's bring in Sharan Kaur. Sharan is a Liberal strategist, a partner at Sovereign Advisory. Hey, Sharan, good to see you on this Wednesday.
Good to see you.
So let me talk to you about Mark Carney, and I know that he's under fire by the Conservatives over this blind trust in his financial assets. The Conservatives basically trying to say, look, there are many things we don't know here, and Canadians deserve to know where Mark Carney's money is and where his investments are and whatnot. How much damage do you think that's doing to Carney's image as he tries to become Prime Minister again?
So, listen, I think it's a lot of noise. And I just want to remind folks, for those of you who are not familiar with the process in government, often people have to disclose or declare or divest. And the Conservatives have had a talking point that the second he became the Prime Minister, they immediately started to go after his assets. And you know what? He is a successful businessman, so there's questions and they will be answered. But the Ethics Commissioner gives people a period of time to get it done. He's already put his items in a blind trust, and that'll all get worked out. There's going to be some time. They have to figure things out. I don't think it's damaging. I think it's just the Conservatives are trying to spin this into being something nefarious when it isn't. It is everyone has to go through this process. I've dealt with it with former ministers that I've worked with. It's complex to follow all the rules, get things in there, and it's only been a few weeks. They're just trying to create noise.
I mean, the messaging here seems to be quite clear. They're trying to say, look, Mark Carney is not able to relate to average Canadians. You know, he's got all this money. It's tucked away here, there, and everywhere. How does he possibly understand, what you're going through on an everyday basis? How much of a vulnerability do you think there is for him on that?
Well, that's a really interesting perspective that they bring to it, because they're trying to demonize someone who's had success in their career. Now, Pierre Poilievre, who has been a career politician, has had his pension for years now. I don't think any Canadians can relate with him either. So, again, I don't think we should be insulting or criticizing people from having success in their life. Do they experience things in different ways for this? Absolutely. I don't think that is what the issue here is. I think the problem we are seeing is that the Conservative team sees Carney as a very formidable individual to take on Donald Trump, and they're trying to throw everything in the kitchen sink and claiming he can't relate. But as someone who has been around his orbit for a very long time, despite his success, he is one of the most down-to-earth people, and we're going to see that on the campaign trail.
All right, let me ask you about some of the polls, too, and this is being released by Leger, and we're going to show our viewers. We have a poll from Leger showing the Liberals at 44%, the Conservatives at 38%, the NDP way down at 6%, and then we have an Angus Reid poll as well, which shows kind of similar numbers here. The Liberals are, again, way ahead of the Conservatives by 8 points, 46 to 38, the NDP at 7. Your takeaway from that? And again, we want to be very careful. It's day 4. There's a month to go.
A lot can change in polls, but what we're seeing here is the Conservatives were polling ahead months and months ago, but we're seeing that the Liberals have removed what was causing them to be dragged down in the polls, which was Prime Minister Trudeau, and the issue that Pierre Poilievre had back then was that he was polling super high because he was campaigning against Trudeau. He's not campaigning against Trudeau. He's actually not even able to penetrate that conversation right now because people care about the vision being Carney versus Trump. So listen, the polls can change every day, and I always tell volunteers and people on campaigns that the only poll that matters is the one on election day. But what we're seeing here is Canadians are seeing that there's one candidate who is going to stand up to Trump, and they're seeing he's someone who's serious and has confidence, and they would rather have him talk to Trump than have someone who's combative. And I know he says he's not MAGA, but Pierre Poilievre sure tends to use the same tactics that Donald Trump uses. So that's what we're seeing in the polls here. It's the Trump effect.
One last question about the NDP, and I appreciate you're a Liberal strategist, but the party seems to be in big trouble. What do you think is happening there?
Well, the NDP, I would say, under Jagmeet Singh, has not been able to make any true advances. He's kind of not even in the conversation right now around this election. Sure, we see him out there. We see him campaigning. Nobody sees Jagmeet Singh as a serious candidate to go up against Donald Trump. And we're seeing that change. Now, NDP campaigns are really great at their grassroots local campaigns, so I'm not going to discredit it completely, but he's kind of faded into oblivion on this campaign trail so far in week 1, and his message is not making its way through to Canadians. He had an event here in Toronto yesterday, and I got to say, for a leader of a party, a crowd of less than 30 people does not scream confidence.
Sharan Kaur joining us. Hey, Sharan, it's good to see you, and I appreciate you taking the time once again, as always.
See you again.